What do you think y'all was bringing in day on the day?
Well, on a daily at by people's about 250,000 a day.
Boy, I'm moving big body in my Maserati. War stories about the game and the biggest party. Who put the work in that city? Yeah, we got it started. Soon as the work touched my hands, we put it on the market. My niggas know what up, though. Greet me when you see me. A nigga stood on 10 toes walking out the precinct. Chrysler, Ford, GMC. This the beat factory. 313. They wasn't outside, boy. I'm living proof. You better check around on how I got the juice. They done put me in that mode, boy. We finna ride. If you ain't know it by the then, I bet you know it now. No brakes or gas on this podcast. Secret to all the war, sharing dog tags. Never hate us out my heart, we just showing love. And if your ass was around, you knew what it was. Yeah, it's for my 7 Mile BK niggas. What up, though? Yeah, Frank Usher, happening, nigga. Best friends, P it down. Shout out to 2020, man. Big ups to Rock, Demetrius Holloway. What up, though? Showboat, Chauncey. Pointed down to them boys. See you, nigga. Bush Jones, Schoolcraft niggas. What up, though? Maserati Red, Detroit, baby.
What up, though? Welcome back to the Beat Factory 313 War Stories podcast, and I'm your host, Juice. And we got my homeboy back with us. Let him know who it is, homeboy.
What up, though, brother Juice? This is Bontu back here. What's going on?
Man, all is well, man. I'm glad you back. I know you got something for the people.
Always. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the brother White Fade. The brother White Fade died in here 2 days ago, right in the cube right next to me. Unfortunately, we have a lot of brothers in here struggling with addiction. And he was one of the brothers who has been lost to that addiction. And also just last night, another brother, although I don't know who he was on the other side of the yard late last night. He also perished, lost his life as a result of addiction. So we have a serious problem in here when it comes to addiction and brothers trying to cope with the reality of these long prison sentences, right? And the fact that the prison system is not offering these brothers no outlet, no programs, in order to adequately cope, and they go into drugs. And unfortunately, we see them losing their life for it.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Salute to them brothers and RIP to all them brothers, man. And we need to try to get them some type of drug treatment programs on the inside so they didn't cut all that type of stuff out.
Right, ain't no doubt about it. So other than that, and just speaking to that, these long prison terms, they giving away life sentences like it's the best thing next to sliced bread, right? And when they're not giving out life sentences, they giving these long, indeterminate sentences. So most brothers and sisters, for that matter, can't leave our sisters out because they suffering under this oppression as well. They have no hope. They're not leaving them any room for hope. So some of the things that we had coming down the pike that we was fighting for to try to rectify these issues on the prison reform front was obviously we was trying to get truth in sentencing abolished. They had another legislative effort that was called second look legislation. So what second look legislation would have done was if a person had at least 20 years in on their sentence, even if it was a natural life sentence, they would be able to petition their trial judge for resentencing. So in this way, it would have gave trial judges back some discretion to take a second look at brothers and sisters, depending on how a person has spent their time, what they have accomplished. They would have had the ability to get resentenced and therefore had an opportunity to get out. But however, that failed. That died in the legislature. And that was our whole push. The whole idea was, before this previous election cycle, the whole idea was we have a Democratic ran state. The governor was a Democrat. The House of Representatives was Democratic ran, and the Senate was Democratic ran. So the idea was that we should be able to push through these bills through hard work, through cooperation, through collaboration. We will be able to push through some of these bills. So everybody went to work. We collaborated with the organizations on the outside, and everybody went to work. A lot of the brothers and sisters who were returning citizens who had did time and got out, they showed up at the Capitol. They showed up at these meetings with these legislators to push this agenda on our behalf. And it looked like it was going to be hopeful. Everybody in here was hopeful. But they killed it. You know, the legislature killed it. The Democrats didn't have the courage to push these bills through. So that begs the question: if we can't count on the Democrats to bring us reform, then who can we count on? Because the legislators, the Republicans that's running the legislators now, they've already said that they're not taking up the prison reform bills from the last session. So it begs the question: who was these Democrats? These Democrats that we have voted and put into office that we felt like was working for the marginalized people, the so-called minority people, the working class people, and the prisoner class. If we couldn't get support from them, then where can we get it from? But along those lines, I want to mention something real quick, because there's something that's called ALEC, right? So ALEC is the acronym. It's ALEC, ALEC. And ALEC stands for the American Legislative Exchange Council, right? Mm-hmm. So what ALEC essentially is a public-private legislative partnership made up of more than 2,000 state lawmakers, 1/3 of the nation's total legislators, and more than 200 corporations and special interest groups. So what's happening is we have a lot of these legislators, and I can only assume a ton of them are also Democrats. That's part of this council. That's part of this collective. Now, one thing that ALEC and these special interest groups have done, they have been the ones responsible for pushing these get tough on crime bills, the 3 strikes law and you out, truth in sentencing. ALEC has been behind all these get tough on crime prison initiatives. So if the Democrats are part of ALEC, then how can we ever get reform in this state, right? So I think this is something that we need to start looking into.
You have 1 minute remaining.
This is something we need to start looking into as we organize, right? And as we start to support these Democratic candidates, we have to look deep into these candidates' backgrounds to determine exactly who are they? Who are they and who are they aligned with? You know, and just ask the question out front. Are you aligned with ALEC? Are you a member of ALEC? And also one of the things we would have to do is just do more research about ALEC in general and determine on our own who are these individuals that may be part of ALEC, right? Whether they are Democrats or Republicans, and put that out because the public needs to know. The public needs to be kept informed about who our representatives are, what they're about, what special interest groups they're aligned with, and therefore we will know how to vote, who to give our vote to.
That's right. Call right back, too.
All right.
Yeah, we keep this going.
Thank you.
We back.
So, yeah. So, with no programming, there's nothing left for these brothers to do but to get high and or fight amongst each other, you know. And a lot of these fights are not just necessarily regular fist fights, which most of them may be, but brothers are dying in here. Brothers are dying in here, and you wouldn't think of it. You know, you would think that brothers just get into a fist fight or somebody just may get stabbed, but guys are actually dying behind these incidents, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about addiction, this becomes a problem because a lot of these guys, they're going whether it's alcohol or whether it's some other type of addiction, and they don't really have the finance to pay their debt. So guys want their money. So they don't got the money. What's going to happen? It's going to go down. And sometimes when it goes down, guys die. Guy may fall. Guy may fall. It's a lot of steel in here. It's a lot of steel. So a guy fall and hit their head, then what? And they die behind that. Now a guy's on the hook with a murder rap. He wasn't intended to murder nobody, but it happened. And we got tons of brothers in here. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast once before, but we got guys in here that's been in the hole in segregation since the 80s.
Get out of here.
One brother come to my mind, we call him Money Ma. His name is James Miller. He's been in segregation since 1987.
Killer Miller.
Since 1987. The brother came to prison with a 4 to 15 sentence. 4 years to 15 years. That was his sentence. He's been in segregation since 1987.
Get out of here.
Right.
Is he still there?
Absolutely. Huh?
Is he still there? You talking about Killer Miller?
Killer Miller. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Killer Miller. Still in segregation. I spent maybe about a year and a half as his neighbor in IMAX 1 block. Absolutely.
And how they...
Not only that, huh?
Give him a little story about Killer Miller. Let him know his situation, how he's still there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the last time I left him, when I was with him, he was definitely still there. So what the allegation is that Killer Miller killed an officer in Jackson prison. And from there, they transported him to, at the time, it was the only supermax prison in the state of Michigan. It was level 6. And that's Ionia Maxima facility. So that's where he had been housed at. Only for a brief time, maybe about a year and a half, they transferred him and sent him to Berger Maximum facility that's up in the Upper Peninsula, but they sent him right back to IMAX. But since Killer Miller been in prison, he has stayed fit, he stay in shape, his mind is sharp. I can tell you how sharp his mind is. We can be outside on the yard in the cage, so while we're in administrative segregation, they still have to take us outside 5 days a week for an hour. But they put us in a big-ass dog cage. So this is where we exercise in this cage. But he's able to play another prisoner in chess that's inside his cell out his memory. So the guy he will be playing will have a makeshift chessboard in front of him with every square number. And as he's moving the pieces, he's calling out the pieces so Killer Miller can know where he's moving to. But Killer Miller don't have a chessboard or no pieces with him out on the yard while we're in the cage. He just visualizing it in his head. He have the whole board memorized and all the moves memorized in his head. So he play a guy in chess like that and win.
Get out of here.
Win most of the time.
That's vicious.
Yes. Yes. So it shows you the mental fortitude that a lot of us have to develop in here.
And how they
we have to develop it here. Not only that, he stay physically fit. So then every time they remove him from his cell, whether it's to take him out to the prison yard or whether it's to take him to the shower, he have to have an escort of a supervisor. So that means a sergeant or lieutenant or a captain or a case manager, in addition to 2 officers, in addition to 2 correction officers. So you need a minimum of 3 people in order to remove him from his cell.
That's right. And how they justify keeping him? How they justify keeping him in level 6 this long?
Just fear. There's fear. So it really becomes interesting. So some years back in Pelican Bay State Prison in California, you know, they was doing the same thing. They was keeping those guys in long-term segregation for 30 years, 20, 30 years. So what those brothers did was those brothers came together. They came to the point, they said, well, hell, we ain't got nothing to lose. So they all went on hunger strike. And they went on hunger strike not for 3 days or 7 days. Those brothers was up to like 30 days on the hunger strike. But they end up forcing the system to do something because a lot of those brothers died. They started to die behind their protest, but this is just how serious they was. And so what ended up happening in California State Prison is they put a cap on the number of years that you can actually spend in what they call the shoe. In California, they call it the shoe. Here, we just still call it the hole or segregation. But they put a 5-year cap on it. Here in Michigan, there is still no cap on administrative segregation. You know, so, but also because unfortunately we don't have the same type of consciousness in the Michigan prison system that they have in the California prison system. So you can't get brothers to come together. So I think that's one of our biggest issues that we face in this prison system now in organizing brothers is raising gas consciousness. How do we raise gas consciousness? You know, in order to struggle for your interest. We all have interests that needs to be served. You know, how do we accomplish that? What is it that we have to do? Here in Michigan, we all chopped up. You know, everybody's only concerned with their own little group that they're part of, and not concerned with the actual conditions of the prison. Like on this location, we have a serious male problem at this prison. This is the Ken Ross Correctional Facility. We have a serious male problem. And this problem is either an intentional problem or a problem with indifference. I will argue that it's both. So mail can come in and you may not get your mail for 2 weeks from the time it arrives, or sometimes even longer than that. Or you might not get it at all. And this is the same for outgoing mail. You may send mail out. Like for instance, I sent one of my advocates a letter on January 13th. She haven't gotten it yet.
Get out of here.
And it's the same thing with the JPEG. So I had another friend send me 2 pictures. You know, one picture was of her fully clothed, no skin showing, and another picture of the Princess boat. She was in Miami, Florida, and it was the Princess boat. They rejected the picture saying inappropriate content, right? So now I said, well, send the pictures right back. Send them right back, and they come through. So what this tells us is that whoever the staff personnel is sitting up there that's tasked with monitoring the JPEG, the content. If they just feel like, well, the hell, I don't feel like letting nothing through right now, so I'm just going to reject it. And they just reject it. And then when you complain about it, you file a grievance about it, they say, oh, there's no record of any JPEG have come. Or there's no record of, we haven't received no mail, and we're not responsible for the post office whether they deliver the mail on time or not. So they always shift blame or shift responsibility from themselves. You know, so we have serious issues. We have serious issues going on in here. And one of the things, like I said, we have to do, we have to find a way to organize, cross-organize, inside-out organize. We need to organize with the brothers and sisters on the ground like yourself. You know, we need to be in deep collaboration with each other, and we need to push reform agendas together.
I'm with that. So yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. One agenda. You feel me? And one stepping block at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And aside from that, you know, in pushing those agendas, you know, we're gonna have to think outside of the box. Because the fact of the matter, and I believe Martin Luther King once said something in his letter from a Birmingham jail. He said the oppressor don't give up oppression voluntarily. So they're not going to give it up voluntarily, right? So
Right.
we have to force them to give it up. We have to be able to show them that this shit ain't going to work. It's not going to work. You have to do something. And I think without us organizing with that type of consciousness and at that level, then it's going to be hard to bring about change.
So what
some sacrifice is going to have to be made. Go ahead.
What groups you working with now that we need to be aware of, that we need to tap in with?
You have 1 minute remaining.
So that's a good question. But primarily, I mess with Michigan Justice Advocacy. I mess with Safe and Just Michigan. I mess with the American Friends Service Committee. Those are the primary prison reform advocacy groups that I'm affiliated with. But on a revolutionary level, because actually I'm not a reformer. I'm a revolutionary. But I understand the need for a reform struggle as well. On a revolutionary level, well, that's a whole nother conversation that we would have to have.
When you got to call back, you feel me? Whenever you call back, if you get back in that line, it's up to you. We go put it together. Appreciate you, Bantu.
Thank you for using GTL.
What do you think y'all was bringing in on the day?
Well, on a daily at my people's about 250,000 a day.
Boy, I'm moving big body in my Maserati. War stories about the game and the biggest party. Who put the work in that city? Yeah, we got it started. Soon as the work touched my hands, we put it on the market. My niggas know what up, though. Greet me when you see me. A nigga stood on 10 toes walking out the precinct. Price, Ford, GMC. This the beat factor. 313. They wasn't outside, boy, I'm living proof. You better check around on how I got the juice. They done put me in that mode, boy, we finna ride. If you ain't know about it then, I bet you know it now. No brakes or gas on this podcast. Secret to all the war, sharing dog tags. Never hate us out my heart, we just showing love. And if your ass was around, you knew what it was. Yeah, it's for my 7 Mile BK niggas. What up, dog? Yeah. Frank Usher, Fattening nigga, best friends, P.A. down, shout out to 2020, man, big ups to Rock, Demetrius Holloway, what up, though, Showboat, Chauncey, Pointing down on them boys, see you, nigga, Bush Jones, Schoolcraft niggas, what up, though, Maserati Brick, Detroit, baby.
That was my homeboy Bantu tapping in, letting us know what's going on with the prison reform as well as situations that occurs in the institution. To let y'all know that prison ain't no resort or nowhere to have fun. It's a place of punishment. So who want to rush and be on the bench sitting in the penitentiary? That ain't no honor and no badge to be sitting or going to jail. So I don't want the young guys to think that it's honorary. That's where you supposed to go in life. No, you don't supposed to go to jail. Jail is not a part of the game. You feel me? So with that being said, we just had to let y'all know that it's a million stories in the urban community. This just but one. And we want y'all to tap back into the Beat Factory 313. And I'm your host, Juice. And this is another War Stories report. You feel me? That was Bantu. He gave us a nice little story about Killer Miller. Killer Miller is an old vet for any of those who have been incarcerated. Y'all might not met him if you ain't been to level 6, but you have heard of his name. And I was surprised to hear that Killer Miller was still incarcerated in level 6. That man was in level 6 since, like he said, 80, 85, 87 or something like that. And that, look how many years that is to be locked down 24 hours a day. 23, you feel me? with that being said, I'm gonna end this now. And to the young people, YNs, the streets ain't what it is. You feel me? You got guys that you think stand up guys that's go fold when the right pressure applied. You feel me? So really do your homework and investigate this what you really want to get off the porch and get into. You know what I'm saying? Because the only time it's prescribed to worry about something is before the action. So once you commit yourself to these streets, you got to be willing to accept that all come with it. And it ain't no set of rules. The rules only apply on how you see them fit for yourself. And each individual go apply the rules how they see fit for themselves for them to win. So don't think they go play by your rules. They go play by the rules they set for themselves. And they go tell you they might ride with your rules. But at the end, you will see when that right pressure comes, you will see who go stand tall and who go fold. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, we're going to end this now and get back to y'all and get this out. I'm Juice from the Beat Factory 313 War Stories Podcast. And we out.
And not even about me. You all had an opportunity to have access to the office because this is what I laid down with every night. So he made sure we didn't get it wrong in that office. And it spread and permeated across this country when I was able to tell the real world and the real experiences that when people are treated like animals and savages, then you justify how you treat them. No, every person who goes through the system is a human being, and what I'm here to tell you is that you will be treated like human beings from across this world.
Talk that talk. Talk that talk. Talk that talk.
On behalf of every prosecutor across this country, I apologize for the mistreatment, for the abuse, all the things that have been through. I am with you to end the mass incarceration, to fight for cash bail, to ensure that re-entry for people who have a felony conviction is overturned by people in power, because y'all got a movement over here. Y'all got somebody speaking for you. And I promise you, this ain't